This episode is brought to you by Kia's first 3-row all-electric SUV, the Kia EV9, with available all-wheel drive and seating for up to 7 adults, with a 0 to 60 speed that thrills you 1 minute, and available reclining lounge seats that unwind you the next. Visit kia.com/EV9 to learn more. Ask your Kia dealer for availability. No system, no matter how advanced, can compensate for all driver error and or driving conditions. Always drive safely.
Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, let's get this shit cracking like
eggs.
Oh my God, this movie, fuck, man.
Really?
Like, you know what, man?
See, I felt like it was another one of those next movies where as I was rewatching, I was like, all right, it's not as bad as I remember it.
You know what? I really struggled trying to figure out whether it was better or worse than Next. That was like, honestly, as I'm watching it, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely got it's got some positives. It really does have some positives, but.
Well, I like, let's put it this way. It's going to be very easy for me to explain what parts of it make it better than Next versus.
Sure.
Yeah. So we don't have to get too deep. It's pretty much right there.
Yeah, it is right there. Mayes, before we do the full intro, what were your thoughts going in?
Hands down worse than Next.
Really? Hands down?
Hands down. And I saw this one first.
Okay.
So this was, I'm kind of doing the opposite of Amin, whereas he's weighing this one against Next while he's watching it. I weighed Next against Knowing.
Oh, yeah.
Got you.
Yeah. This is, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm holding a mic in my hands, and now I'm talking all alone.
Well, with that, welcome to Cinephobe, the podcast where we break down movies you're afraid to admit you love. I'm Zach Harper, joined by Amin Al-Hassan, Anthony Mayes producing the show. This new episode is on the movie Knowing, 2009 movie starring Nicolas Cage as John Kessler, who's an MIT professor, and also has Rose Byrne in it. It is directed by Alex Proyas, who has been known for directing movies like The Crow, which I think is kind of acclaimed, right?
Really?
Like that's thought of as a solid movie. Cult favorite. He's also done iRobot.
Okay, that's more like it.
And then this is where it gets really more like it. Have you seen Gods of Egypt?
Oh no, I didn't. I knew I wasn't gonna like.
It is exceptionally bad.
Yeah, I
not even fun bad. It's
Gods
just
of Egypt with
awful.
a bunch of white people.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
I remember that movie. Yeah.
The little synopsis of this movie on IMDb is MIT professor John Kessler links a mysterious list of numbers from a time capsule to past and future disasters and sets out to prevent the ultimate catastrophe. The tagline for this movie, what happens when the numbers run out?
Oh my God. Oh my God, this movie's exceptionally bad.
So this one did well. It says it has a $50 million budget estimated.
Oh, it showed
on IMDb. So here's the thing: the
CGI definitely showed.
I thought there was some great CGI in this movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so literally this is the 4th episode of Cinephobe we've done. In every episode other than Kangaroo Jack, Good Day, Mate.
Yeah.
You guys have criticized the CGI. And I've always been like, no, it got the job done for what they were trying to do. Like, no big deal. Right. This was the first time I was like, this is disturbingly bad CGI. This is distractingly.
I think I'm going Land of the Lost, then Next, then Knowing in terms of CGI.
In terms of from best to worst or worst to best?
Best to worst.
You went Land of the Lost, next, and then Knowing?
And then Knowing.
Yes, I agree.
Because I felt like the CGI for like 3 different scenes was pretty damn impressive.
The only one that was good, kind of, sort of, was the plane crash. Every other CGI scene was so cheesy and so bad. I mean, it looked like not even like a cartoon. It looked like, what was it the original Land of the Lost with the stop animation?
Really?
That's how bad it was.
Wow, I strongly disagree. This movie did pretty well. $50 million budget, grossed 183 worldwide.
Of course, worldwide.
And 78 million domestically. So it made money.
Wow.
Which is crazy to me because I vaguely remember knowing that this movie was in the theaters. I can't imagine.
Oh, I remember
78.
I remember the trailers. Like, it's not one of those, like, I don't remember this movie happening. Like Next. I don't remember Next at all happening. I remember the trailers. I remember looking at Nicolas Cage and just saying to myself, no. But I don't remember. Was it a fall release or was it a summer release?
It was I believe it came out in like March. Let me see. I've got it right here. Yeah, March 20th, 2009.
That would make sense because, as you guys may or may not know, actually, I'll hip you. Movies, the studios literally look for 2 release. Like, if it's a good movie, they'll either go for summer, obviously, for blockbuster, or fall/winter. So that's October, November, December.
The holidays then, right?
Yeah, for awards purposes, awards nomination purposes. If a movie sucks, like, you'll see January release dates, February release dates, into early March. That's why a lot of horror movies come out January, February, March.
Yeah.
Because they're like, look, this is cheap and this is just going to keep the lights on in the early months, but we don't really believe in this movie, because if they believed in it, they would have pushed it in summer, which is why what made Black Panther such an incredible thing, is that they dropped a blockbuster movie in what's traditionally known as a dead time,
right,
in movie release time calendar.
So this one made money. Before we get into the rest of this podcast, you can find it on Showtime. It is also available to rent on iTunes and all that stuff. But yeah, if you have Showtime and it's available on Showtime, I highly recommend it, that you watch it just for this podcast.
I mean,
all right. We'll get into it. The Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie: 33% from critics on 181 reviews, 42% from the audience on over 431,000 ratings. So audience liked it more.
Mayes just sent a message that made me smile and made me very happy. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there is a Tony Medley review for this.
Oh, there is. Absolutely, there is.
So I haven't. No, I kind of like this dynamic that we're doing in this podcast, where I don't look up this stuff.
Right.
My reactions are as pure and as spontaneous as you hear them on this podcast. So I can't wait for that portion of the podcast.
Yeah, we'll get to that at the end of the podcast.
Still in the medley zone, which is 2002 to 2019. It's the medley zone.
You know what I like about TonyMedley.com is that they're all alphabetized and done by year. So like it's easy to go find the movie, and he's done a lot of movies.
It's incredibly organized, man.
It is. It is really well done. Congratulations, Tony Medley. Even if we don't always agree with you. So as I was reading the reviews from these from 2009. There was one common theme, and that is that M. Night Shyamalan, who had nothing to do with the movie, catches a lot of strays in these reviews. Yeah. So from Stephen Whitty from the Newark Star Ledger, an uneasy blending of sci-fi and religion, fate and faith, the same mismatch that has bedeviled most of M. Night Shyamalan's recent movies and leaves this film leaden with self-importance.
Nice. Well done.
Kyle Smith of the New York Post. Oh, wait, no. Is that what it is? Oh, yeah. Kyle Smith of the New York Post. The movie begins shameless, grows stupid, and winds up silly. If the ending had less of the air of a crackpot religion and more pretentiousness, you could almost call it Shyamalanish.
I like that. That's actually a really accurate. That right there. That's a good writer right there, man.
And then Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly. If you want to know how inept this movie is, well, it's so inept that you may wish you were watching an M. Night Shyamalan version of the very same premise. Just catching strays.
I won't lie, man. A lot of that was happening in my head when I was.
That last one was a compliment.
Was it?
It's saying that they'd rather have his version, right?
I guess that's a backhanded compliment at best. That's that's shooting through the hostage in order to get out of the situation. All right, so we picked this movie. This was suggested by Motez from the Discord chat. He said, I was super excited to watch it for the first time because of the amazing premise, but the execution was so shitty. Horrible ending, Nick Cage doing Nick Cage, shitty kid actors, and that ending, of course. And mentions a flaming moose, which we'll get to at some point.
So, okay. Oh, my God. Do I want to dissect this, or should I give my overarching kind of take on this movie?
I mean, we can do both.
Let's dissect. All
right, we'll dissect it. A couple of as I said, Nick Cage is starring in it. Rose Byrne is in it. A familiar face or two.
Ben Mendelsohn.
Ben Mendelsohn
plays Director Krennic in Rogue One.
Yeah, also in Mississippi Grind, which is a really good movie.
And is also in Robin Hood. He plays the sheriff in Nottingham.
Yep, absolutely. And then Liam Hemsworth is a student.
Really?
Yeah, he's a student in that first scene where Nick Cage is teaching.
Let's start there.
He tosses. He's the one that Cage tosses the son to.
Oh, okay. This is what I said. Wow, what a throw was my note.
So, all right.
Followed by shout out to Spencer when he was told, "Tell me about the song." He said, "It's hot." I thought, like, you know what? That's a nice dickhead way to answer a dickhead question.
Yeah, believe it or not, Liam Hemsworth, his first movie, his film debut was that right there. Yeah, how about that?
Liam Thor, or is that Chris?
That's Chris, right? Liam is Hunger Games.
Mr. Cyrus.
All right. No wonder I didn't recognize him.
So we start this movie off with a creepy kid in 1959 Massachusetts. This kid is just standing out there. They ring the bell. They're trying to get all these kids inside the school. I did make this note because I did look for it. Once I saw it was 1959 Massachusetts, I said, I don't know if they're trying to be historically accurate, but there were only white kids in the school.
Yeah, I mean, look, hey, Brown v. Board of Education was actually a few years before that, but you know.
Well, then it wasn't implemented quickly.
That was for those racists in the South, up in Massachusetts, where they love black people. They didn't have any of those problems.
So what they're doing here to set this movie up is they are burying a time capsule, and all these kids are supposed to draw pictures. They're going to put it in the time capsule. 50 years later, it'll be opened up at that school, and they'll get to see a little bit of history inside that. So we get to the creepy girl's name is Lucinda.
Yeah.
And when they go over to collect her paper that's supposed to have a picture, she's just writing all these numbers on it, all these numbers over and over and over. They go in, they bury the time capsule, and they lose Lucinda. They can't find her. Mm-hmm. And when they do find her, she's in the basement of the school in a closet. Her fingers are completely bloody because she has been scratching these numbers onto a door with her fingernails.
I only have one note for that entire opening scene. And that note was, no chance any school went to those lengths for a time capsule.
It seems, this is a whole ceremony.
I'm like, come on, guys.
Really burying it with a manhole cover. I'm
just saying, like, with cement, they poured cement down there and everything. I'm like, look, my kid just had a time capsule thing, and so they let him go home with it. Like, everyone just got a sealed envelope. Here you go. A letter to your future self. Don't open it until 2028.
So that was, that's the opening. So we know that there are these numbers. They know there's a time capsule. 50 years later, we get to present day Massachusetts, and Nick Cage has a kid and a telescope. He's grilling hot dogs. They're having a boys' night, mainly because the mom's dead. So it's kind of only a boys' night.
So this is tremendous, right? Because this scene, it's like there's a lot of things they're trying to establish with this scene. And so they're, rather than like let things play out, and so you get an idea about these characters and their relationships, or whatever. They're like, no, guys, we don't have enough time. The studio wants it done in under this many minutes. Got to fit it all. So I swear to God, this is the opening scene that Nicolas Cage is in. He's drinking wine. listening to a baseball game on the radio, looking into a telescope, and grilling. And talking to his kid.
Yeah, he's doing a lot, man.
Like, it's a lot of shit to be doing that really is not necessary. Like, telescope, okay, he's an astronomer. He's have him look into a telescope in the sky. Okay, cool, okay. He's got a drinking problem. How do we have him be drinking wine while he's doing it? Okay, and there's no mom in the picture. He's got to be grilling hot dogs. I'm just like, what are you guys, like, as soon as I saw it, I said, okay, they're trying to tell us things, right? They wouldn't just let it happen.
Yeah, it's a lot of exposition for one scene.
And then I say, grade A acting there with the kid telling us why he's vegetarian. I mean, it was the kid's opening line, I believe. It's like, Dad, I'm not eating your famous Sunday hot dog, which I later on put a note about that. I said, like, hot dogs are the fucking easiest thing in the world. I'm like, you give me your famous hot dogs, man. Like,
not even the Nathan's hot dogs at the hot dog eating contest.
Yeah, here's my note. By the way, hot dogs are not like a big deal to make, motherfucker. I was just so annoyed that he's taking so much pride, like he's putting like special herbs and spices and fucking hot dogs on a grill.
Right. Well, yeah, and so that's to like establish that this kid is a free thinker, and then they show that he's like a genius or good with numbers or something like that, right? Like he's like this kid's special, and so he puts the kid to bed, and he goes
to watch the Discovery Channel because
watch the Discovery Channel. But then when he puts the kid to bed, he's tucking the kid in. We find out mom's dead, and so then they do this weird little hand motion as they say goodnight to each other, and it's essentially like if you make two fists and hold the front of those curled fingers together to where your thumbs are lined up parallel. And then they do this like little circular motion, and then they like basically throw up an X with the thumbs at that point, right?
Right. At which point I put the note, what do the cabbage patch mean in sign language? Because that's basic. Zach gave you a very technical description. I just said they did the cabbage patch.
Yeah, they do a very limited cabbage patch there, and they say, you and me together forever.
It's creepy. Well, a theme that we'll revisit many a time.
Yeah. So here's my question. Was that before or after the mom died?
The you and me together forever?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it had to be after the mom died, right?
So it's compensating, yeah.
Yeah. Because there's a line later on where the kid says, wait a sec,
Right. Yeah. So cut to, we find out Nick Cage is a professor.
Yeah.
He's an MIT professor, and he is, I guess, about like space, relativity, theory about why things exist, how ththings exist.
Okay, so like there's a lot of like it's a mixture of like astronomy, but also like philosophy.
Yeah.
Or he's just injecting a lot of philosophy into his astronomy class. And by the way, I have a lot of notes here. First of all, shout out to Spencer. I really appreciated that. Yeah, I said this is supposed to be an MIT class. Why is there a chalkboard? Right, like every college, pretty much. Like when I was in college, pretty much everyone had gone to white dry erase boards. This one had a chalkboard in it. Also, does everyone have laptops in class now? Like this is something I legitimately didn't know. I was like, wait, is this something in college? Because literally every single student in class had a laptop in front of them.
Yeah, and think this is 2009 too, so not quite as likely back then.
I'm just saying, but is there even now, or is there any era where literally everyone else? Because I remember people bring laptops. It wasn't a big deal. It's just like, motherfucker, why are you lugging that shit? Like, when I was in grad school, I was just like, I'm just chilling. Like, I don't, like, trust me, I'm all right. Like, I'll get the notes later. Like, the idea that everyone had a laptop out, I was like, is that a lazy assumption, or is that what college is like now? I don't know.
I think it is. I think it's fairly accurate.
I would assume most students have laptops now.
Nerds.
especially at MIT, right?
Well, that's the other thing. So I said, this is an MIT class. What class is this? Because this seems like very rudimentary introductory concepts, and the size of the class would also lend to it's a 100 level class. But then why is this professor of astronomy, who's like this foremost expert on stuff, teaching a 100 level class? So you say, how do you know he's a professor of astronomy? How do you know he's like a tenured guy? What if he's just like an associate professor, someone entry level? I'll tell you how I know. Because later in the movie, he's got the biggest fucking office of any professor I've ever seen in the history of college.
Yeah, it's
like this shit is the size of an apartment, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's remarkable.
And then the final note I had, which I was disappointed, was actually nothing. But I actually, at the time, I thought, oh, okay. Am I detecting sexual tension between Cage and the female student in the front row?
Oh boy, wow. That didn't register with me at all.
Really? I was picking up heavy signals. I'm like, oh.
Interesting. Okay. She does ask him at point, what do you, because he's saying all these theories on why things exist. What do you believe? And he said, I believe shit just happens, but that's just me.
Yeah. But he didn't like when he's making eye contact with her. Because like shit, I thought that meant like, yo, we about to fuck. But, like,
wow. Wow, I did not assume that at all.
Well,
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Moving on.
This is where we get introduced to Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah, Director Krennic is a douche. Is my note.
Okay, yeah, he joins him, and they go on a little walk through the quad, and he mentions that his sister wants Cage to come over for dinner. Yeah. And then says, apparently she finds you interesting. I just thought
is his sister or is it his sister-in-law?
Oh, sister-in-law, maybe?
It's his wife's sister, yeah, because Nicolas Cage is like, why are you, because he's talking about how she got a big rack and shit like that. Like,
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just throws out a gay joke. So we're still in 2009. It was more acceptable back then. But we unearthed that Cage always makes these excuses. Yes. Oh, the kid's got something. Oh, the kid's sick. Oh, I can't come over. So we know he's a homebody.
Yeah. By the way, I have in my notes here, because he cuts off this conversation saying, oh my God, it's Caleb's blah, blah, Caleb's time capsule unveiling. And he rushes off. But they had just walked out of the class that he was teaching. So my question was, how do you have to rush to the ceremony? You knew you were teaching a class at that time. Like, even if he had been thinking about it in class and immediately left, he was going to be late to this ceremony, but I don't know.
Well, I thought he was just trying to get out of there. Like, this whole scene is him, like, repeatedly ducking the attempts
like, he doesn't really fuck with
Ben Mendelsohn to set him up with whoever. Because he wants him to move on, and he's still caught up with his wife's death. By
the way, his wife, who just died a year ago, so shout out to Ben Mendelsohn.
Yeah, he's really trying to...
dick wet.
Yeah.
Get your dick wet, bro.
It's been a year. What are you doing? This girl's got a rack. Like, that's basically...
Are you kidding me? I wish my wife died.
Yeah, I wish she was dead. She thought you... Like, I always thought she thought you were gay. Like, it's just a weird... It's a weird friend dynamic. Like, it really doesn't make a lot of sense.
And hence, Director Krennic is a douche. Right.
There you go. So Cage makes it to the kid's performance. He's in a choir singing for this time capsule ceremony. They unearth the time capsule, and again, it is a real production 50 years later.
Jeez.
It's pretty impressive. The kid, his name's Caleb. He's the one that gets Lucinda's letter.
Yeah, her numbers, basically her sheet of just numbers. All the other kids make fun of Caleb for this, which I thought
we got pictures.
No, but I thought that was actually very on point, because like that's what kids in school. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what I'm gonna make fun of you. I'm gonna make fun of you either way. Doesn't have to be a fact. Doesn't even have to be accurate. So I appreciated that touch of realism right there. I did note that 50 years old, and that paper is in pristine condition.
Yeah, it looks.
It's not yellowed. It's not like brittle at all. It's
literally there is no oxygen in there, right? So maybe that's science.
So they vacuum sealed this shit.
I mean, I don't know. With everything else they did, would that shock you?
I guess not.
Yeah.
So the kid ends up taking it home with him. He wasn't supposed to take it home.
Now, is this the first time, the time capsule ceremony, where we find out the kid's got a hearing aid?
He takes it out. He takes it out when he goes to bed in the beginning.
Right, but so he hears like the noises, right? Like there are these like high pitched noises when they take the time capsule out. But I don't remember. So my question is, like, in the opening scene, because I made a note of this, did I miss a hearing aid mention in the opening scene?
Let me tell you this: the moment I realized he had a hearing issue was later on when they meet Rose Byrne and her daughter at the museum. That was the problem. I was like, what?
Wow, he legitimately has a conversation about it with Nick Cage before that.
The sign language, the Cabbage Patch. I was like, why are they doing the Cabbage Patch? What is it? Like, I thought it was a little dance.
That makes sense about the Cabbage Patch then.
Oh, it's sign language. Yeah, that's why I said is sign language for I
doesn't explain why he's singing in the choir though. I bet you he's not a very good singer.
Well, at that age, Mayes, you just kind of let him just you suck because you can't hear good, kid.
I hope that comment fell on that kid's ears because that's So they mentions that the hearing aid's been acting up. Cage says turn it down. Kid takes it out. They go to bed. This is when Nick Cage pours the most aggressive glass of whiskey I've ever seen.
I wrote, nobody in the history of alcohol has ever made that mistake ever.
No, right? He overflows.
Like, you know how like in the movies, someone's like the waitress is pouring coffee into a mug and then like an atom bomb explodes outside and everyone's like staring out the window. She keeps pouring. Right. And then, the coffee cup overflowed. But that's because when you're pouring a cup of coffee or pouring water or whatever, you're usually trying to fill it up close to the brim.
Right. Nobody
pours whiskey like that because if you're going to drink that much whiskey, you just drink out the bottle. You don't there's only two, either you pour like a third of the glass in or you're just going straight to the head. Right. But there's no let me fill it up all the way to the top. Like nobody does that. And so I was perturbed by that. I also just group texted you guys when he sits down at the TV and goes to the TiVo.
Oh, is that what this is?
That's what that is. I took a picture of what his TiVo was. And this is the programming. And by the way, everything was recorded within the last 3 days. Right?
Yeah, they're aggressively recording.
Yes. You have Creature. Actually, you know what? No. Because this movie's supposed to take place in October. And all of these things are TiVo'd from November.
Oh, right? Yeah.
They talk about how it's an unseasonably hot October.
Yeah, because the end. Well, the spoiler alert. Yeah, this whole movie spoiler alert. The end day is like October 19th.
In October, yeah. The end of the world is supposed to happen in October, right? So it says this is what they have TiVo from November. So I guess this is almost a year old. They've got 4 episodes of Creature Comforts. I've never heard of that show.
Yeah.
They have 5 episodes of Animal Precinct. Terrible fucking show.
Is it? I've never heard of it.
Terrible.
Is it just animals as cops?
No, it's not. It's not fiction. It's like a reality show on Animal Planet, I think. They've got 3 episodes of Power Rangers. Sorry, man. No one's watching Power Rangers in 2009. They've got March of the Penguins. They've got Planet Earth, which I thought was like, that's a nice touch. 6 episodes. And then all of a sudden they've got The Simpsons.
All right.
4 episodes, right? Again, Simpsons on a Tuesday? I don't think so, buddy. That's a Sunday show. Tigers Under Threat, which is the show that he ends up watching. It's a movie, I guess.
Right.
And then the last thing on the list, Malcolm in the Middle. 2 episodes.
Well, he was so distracted by the good options. That's why he overpoured this glass of whiskey.
Yeah, and then because he realizes he overpoured it, he goes to the kitchen to go get something to wipe up with, and he puts this overflowing, dripping glass of whiskey on top of the priceless paper that he shit on his son for bringing home from school and confiscated from him.
Right.
Like, that was the thing that pissed me off. Like, he made a big deal. Like, you're supposed to leave this to school and give me that. Like, instead of saying, all right, just make sure you take it back, he fucking confiscates it, makes this big deal, shaming the kid, and then later on puts his fucking alky drink all over it like a goddamn coaster.
He's a pretty bad dad.
Terrible dad.
He's forgetting to go pick his kid up. He's forgetting to go to choir performances. Like, he's pretty terrible. He's apparently trying to screw that student.
Yeah.
According to you.
Yeah.
Hasn't moved on from his wife except to lustfully stare at his students.
He does have a great arm though, as you mentioned, because he tossed his
hold on. This whole putting the whiskey down thing, that's what they decided had to be the device for him to look at the piece of paper.
Yeah, this is where because it puts a ring of whiskey on the paper, which now isolates some of the numbers, and this is where I wrote the note, plot liftoff.
Nice.
That's where it gets going.
That's exactly what happened. So,
solid 22 minutes in.
Yeah, so the circle, as Zach points out, the numbers are circled. So then he goes to a whiteboard in his kitchen or somewhere like that.
Yeah, like around the kitchen area.
And he writes the numbers and he looks at the combos and like erases and then draws lines. And then he realizes the first 3 numbers are 9/11/01. And this motherfucker, ladies and gentlemen, in 2009, has to Google what happened on 9/11/2001. I'm known for sometimes to push the envelope on 9/11 jokes.
Oh man!
But I was legitimately offended.
You were offended?
I was offended.
I didn't know you could get offended.
I was offended.
This did it.
I was absolutely offended because we're talking about like we're 8 years out from fucking 9/11 happening.
Yeah.
Nobody I have a friend of mine, longtime listeners of the show, people who were at the LA live show will know who this guy is. My friend Reggie, aka Reach. Me and Reach have a thing where we will literally screenshot our phones whenever it's 9/11 because every time I look at my phone, it's 9/11, right? 9/11 is a combination. 9/11 is so strong a combo of numbers that's associated with something that it literally stole the show from the original meaning of that number, which was 911.
Right.
No one looks at 911 anymore and says, "Oh, that's the number you call." People look at it and say, "That says 9/11,"
and they
right?
Forget.
And say never forget, right?
Yeah.
And so for them to have to point out, like to the audience, this is essentially what they're doing. They're saying, let's have the character do it, sort of the stupid asses in our audience who don't remember what happened in 9/11. I was so turned off by that, man.
Wow, I didn't know you. Wow, that kind of makes me like this movie a little bit more. Just knowing that it's that powerful. So not only does he Google 9/11, he Googles the number after it, which happens to be the number of lives lost.
2,996, and Mayes has just sent us a screenshot of that webpage that he goes to, which is a memorial for 9/11, and the header is 9/11/01, a day we will never forget. And this is where Amin's usual sensibilities kick in. I read it in the Poppy Levitard voice, because anytime he wants to give praise to a player that you've never heard of, like yet today he was talking about Jonas Jerebko. He's going to be the key to winning this NBA Finals. Jonas Jerebko, a name we'll never forget.
So do you think this is a real website?
No.
Because what makes me ask that is there is some detail where there's actual words on there that makes sense.
No. They created fake website. So he rips the whiteboard off of his wall. Again, I said this is the only whiteboard in the house.
Also, it's like affixed to the wall.
Yeah, and he's
not just hanging on something.
Coming down.
Goes to his study and literally violently clears his desk rather than just kind of sit.
Like he was going to have sex with that student.
Yes, on the desk. Puts the whiteboard down there and proceeds. And ladies and gentlemen, so Lucinda wrote these numbers on an 8.5 by 11 standard sheet of paper, and it is filled from corner to corner, from margin. There's no margins. It's just nothing but numbers, right?
Yeah.
This motherfucker who has a pretty expensive Mac desktop sitting on his desk decides to transcribe the entire fucking sheet on his dry erase board, and then starts circling basically all the different number combinations, which then link up with other disasters, with deaths or whatever.
Yeah, so he figures out their dates, and there are death totals, and then there are numbers that are not circled, which he can't figure out yet. He doesn't know what those are for. Yeah, what those are for. But there, a plane crash comes up, an explosion of a building, the train crash, the Oklahoma City bombing comes up.
So a lot of these are actually, I looked some of them up because I was curious. They're actual disasters. They went and found actual disasters. But again, many of these press clippings are basically they're fictitious. I mean, the events happened, but they did their own version. They didn't have real newspapers or real websites. So he stays up all night, right, doing this pretty much.
Yeah. He stays up all night, and he takes the letter and the circle numbers to Mendelsohn. So,
but my thing is this again. So you have a computer. He could have easily just scanned it,
right,
and then highlighted on Microsoft Word or whatever.
Yeah.
And then emailed it to himself or printed it out. It's so much more efficient than writing it on the whiteboard.
And remember, he's an MIT professor.
Yes.
So whiteboard at home, chalkboard in the classroom.
Yeah. That also.
That old saying my grandpa used to say.
Yeah. Find you one that's a whiteboard at home with a chalkboard in the classroom. Also, he lives in a very large colonial house.
Yeah.
That was just kind of weird, right? In the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, out in the woods.
So next morning, he takes his kid to school, and I guess they carpool. And by the way, up until this point, right? Up until him discovering the numbers thing, right? This numbers thing obviously gets his mind racing, right? But up until this point, he's, as you can tell by the way we're describing it, he's been weird and creepy as fuck. So what parent would allow their children to carpool with this motherfucker? I can't fucking figure it out at all. But somehow they do. So he carpools. As he drops his kid off, the kids jump out, and then his son turns and looks at him and says, you've been acting awkward all morning. And I said, there is a 0.0% chance my kids would ever notice if I was awkward. These little assholes don't do a shit.
Did they notice if you drank an entire bottle of whiskey?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they might, but and again, the drunk driving carpool guy, just keep that in mind.
Yeah. So he goes to Mendelsohn, tries to let him know, like, hey, there's something to this. Mendelssohn's not really sure.
Yeah, he's like, you're crazy. You're seeing things that you want to see. And by the way, this brought me back to another movie that may or may not be a Cinephobe entry. I don't know. You guys ever seen The Number 23?
Oh yeah.
All right, so put a pin in that when we get into the ending kind of comments. So I'll bring it up again.
Okay. So from there, then he goes to try to find the teacher of Lucinda.
Yes, who was at the unveiling of the time capsule
right.
on the day off. No, first of all, he calls the school trying to figure out the guys who dug up the time capsule, if he could get their names. And I'm like, what the fuck is the janitor-ass motherfucker's going to do for you, man?
Right, well, yeah.
Hey, man, what do you know at the time? Shit if I know, man. They told me to dig that shit up.
Just brought it out of the ground.
Right.
Your guess is as good as mine.
So thwarted from trying to find out because the school district wouldn't tell him because it's like privacy policy, which I thought that was kind of nice. Like they give a shit about the janitors. I imagine most school districts like, yeah, it was fucking job.
Yeah, he lives on fucking Main Street over there.
Yeah. So he goes to Lucinda's teacher and asks her some questions, and then asks her like, hey, where can I find Lucinda? To which the teacher says, oh, she passed away a few years back. And I said, why would the teacher know who died from her class?
Right. That's crazy.
Like she's 70 or 80 years old or whatever she is. Why is she keeping up with who the fuck what her students are doing fucking 50 years later?
Yeah, and another note I had is that she offers him iced tea and he like almost laughs at her. like why would I drink a non-alcoholic drink?
Yeah.
You dumb bitch. Like that was essentially the face he gave her.
And that reminds me of Next. And this, if you guys remember, the opening scene in Next was him having like a martini at like 8 a.m.
Right.
To which I said, that wasn't in the movie. That was just Nicolas Cage with the camera rolling. I think this is the same thing here, right? Like she always I see it. That's not Dr. John whatever.
No.
That's Nicolas Cage is coming.
He didn't know they were rolling. They're like, oh shit, we just got something. Let's use that. Finds out she's dead. He starts investigating the family back at home as he's on the phone trying to find out information about Lucinda's family. His kid is out playing soccer by himself in the yard, kicking a ball around, goes up to a strange car.
Yeah.
You see these figures in the car whispering to the kid.
Can I spoil it?
Yeah.
These people are aliens, I guess, or something, right?
Right.
But they're aliens, and they've assumed the form of humans.
Human form, yeah.
Yeah, but somehow, so they have this technology that allows them to say, okay, I'm going to look like what I wrote, Anthony Jeselnik. Right? They can do that, but somehow they only had enough money left to afford like a 1991 Chevy Caprice.
Yeah, they got like a fucking Buick or something, right? Like,
I'm just like, they couldn't get a nicer car. Like, why'd they get this piece of shit creeper car? Bro?
No, that's how you blend in.
Yeah.
When you're the aliens. You got to do that. So they hand the kid this smooth stone, this almost black smooth stone.
I'm so mad at this shit.
Cage freaks out.
Spoiler alert: the stones don't mean anything. Like in the grand scheme of things,
there's like just a small callback at one point. Just, I mean, the smallest of callbacks. You're like,
it's just irrelevant.
Right.
So irrelevant.
Right. So they give him. He asks, "What were they saying?" He says, "I don't know." Now Nick Cage's sister shows up. She's essentially checking in on him, trying to get him to reconnect with their parents. We find out that he's the son of a pastor.
Mom says hi. So does Dad.
Grace, don't.
I get that you don't like being the son of a pastor.
I am the son of a pastor.
And for whatever reason, I just love, I love that line I don't know why. I don't know why.
Again, they're like, how do we let them know that he's lost his faith due to the death of his wife?
Right.
That's basically what happened here. Also, sister, kind of a douche, but a religious douche, right?
Right.
Like, so he's like, I got a lot going on. And she said, and her response is, well, tell me all about it so I can pray on it. Like, what? Oh, I hate people like that. I wish you just leave me alone. So anyways, so she leaves. He says, I'm never going to talk to Dad again. I don't know why. Like, how is that his father's fault that his wife died? But no matter. So on his sheet now, this next day is going to be the day where something happens, of course. So the sheet has all these numbers, and he's figured out their dates and death totals. But now he's coming on some new dates, basically modern day dates.
Yeah, and he knows 181 people are going to die.
And so he sits on his couch and he starts drinking and he turns on the news. And I wrote, he looks so disappointed that nobody died on the news, right? Like they have a bunch of news stories that come up. Oh, big fire in the Gulf as this platform thing was about to explode and da-da-da. And like the Shell company or the oil company said that da-da-da. Yeah. Thankfully, no casualties. And this motherfucker like, shit. Like he was so mad that there were no casualties. I was, man, what a dick.
So,
right?
So can I tell you something about that oil rig fire on the news?
Uh-huh.
A year later, it happened in real life.
For real?
And that's the BP oil spill in the Gulf.
Whoa, but there was no explosion though, right?
I don't know. That's just, it's in the trivia on the IMDb page. They say a little more than a year later, April 20th, 2010, it became a reality.
Wow, that's pretty cool, man.
Good enough for me, man.
Yeah, it's pretty close. It's pretty close. So yeah, he's drinking. He's watching the news. He's very disappointed nobody's died. 181 people haven't died. Yeah. He passes out. He then wakes up realizing his kid is calling.
Calling him from a payphone. So there's another question I had. Do they still have payphones at school?
2009, maybe. Probably not, man. Right?
I don't know.
Probably not. No, why wouldn't he just use the office phone? Why couldn't he go to the office and be like, hey, my dad hasn't picked me up. Can I call home?
Like, I mean, we had a payphone at our school, but like, that's what you did. Yeah, especially if you're in middle, like the kid's like 9. Yeah,
right.
Nah, motherfucker, you better get a quarter and go call your dad yourself.
So his drunk ass has now woken up, been startled by the phone, says, oh, I'll be there in 10 minutes, gets in the car, driving drunk, I'm assuming, and is stuck in traffic. There's just some kind of buildup on the highway. He glances down at the GPS and notices wait,
before that happens, no, he's in the car, he's driving. Before he gets stuck in traffic, he calls Ben Mendelsohn.
Oh, right.
And he tells, because nobody died on the news, he's like, maybe I am crazy. So he calls Ben Mendelsohn and said, you know what? I will fuck your sister-in-law. But for some reason, I know this isn't something that I'm being myopic about. It's 2009. He's calling from a cell phone. And rather than call Ben Mendelsohn's cell phone, he calls the house phone and leaves a voicemail on an answering machine. Like, why? Why wouldn't he just call the cell?
Great question.
Anyways.
Great question. Yeah.
Okay, so stuck in traffic.
Stuck in traffic. Looks at the GPS on his car. Notices the longitude and latitude are numbers that he recognizes from the piece of paper.
Right.
And
is that why he got out the car?
Yes, because he recognized it, and I think he figures out at that point. He goes, "Oh, this is the location. All these uncircled numbers. This is the location of where it is." So then
he doesn't realize that. Oh, I don't know. I just felt like he looked at those numbers like, that's odd.
No, because he pulls the paper out. He pulls the paper out.
Yeah.
And
I know. but I don't think he made the connection that these are locations until.
Yeah, maybe he's starting to put it together. So then he gets out of the car to go see what the holdup is, why there's no traffic moving at all.
By the way, several people got out of their cars and I've never, again, I don't know about y'all. I've seen
that once. I've seen that once. It happened on an episode of Married with Children. It's the only time I've seen it.
I thought you meant you actually saw it.
No, I saw it on an episode of Married with Children where they got out of the car during the traffic pileup.
Yeah. So they go there, and then he tells his approach, rather than say, hey, what's going on? It's a hold up, can we do just a Buster U-turn? He goes to the cop and says, how can I help?
Right.
Motherfucker, who are you?
Right.
Oh, man, this movie's so bad.
So then cop says, hey, you really got to get back in your car. And at that point, a horrified look comes on the cop's face. And so here, there's not great continuity here because he looks behind Nick Cage, but the plane is coming from the side.
Yeah.
So he looks horrified, like, oh my God, this plane comes crashing through. This is where I wrote the note, plot liftoff seems insensitive now.
Yeah. So plane crashes, and then everyone on the plane somehow survives the crash, but they're all burning.
Yeah, a lot of people are survived. A lot of people are on fire. And this is where I wrote CGI is great on this crash.
Come on, man.
No, man, it's good. Like, it is good.
There's just a wall of fire on the freeway.
As the plane comes down.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that. Like, the plane crashes kind of sideways, right? So that the wing is scraping the freeway. Yeah. And it gives off a Back to the Future kind of just streak of flame.
Look, man, I think that is scientifically accurate.
They've got the same turbine from Lost just chilling there.
On this hill.
I mean, it struck me as so odd that this plane would have this horrific crash, and yet so many people survived it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think because it landed on the wing at first, it absorbed some of the contact. Look, I think the physics will back me up on this. If you're a physicist who's seen this movie, send in a tweet. Let me know if I'm right or wrong.
If you're a college student with a laptop, astronomy 101 class.
What I liked about this scene, it's one continuous shot. From the crash to the end of the scene, it is one continuous shot of Nick Cage running through. A guy is on fire, goes running by. What I like about this is there is a woman on fire. She drops to the ground. He picks up a blanket and just drops it on her and moves on.
He just drapes it ever so gingerly.
He's running through. There are passengers on fire. There are explosions off to the side. What a horrific scene. I thought this was a legitimately great action scene.
He starts giving someone CPR.
Yeah. I mean, like, what? Yes. What dictates where he's going to spend time on one victim versus another? He pulls someone out of a plane. The guy gets CPR. The guy was in the plane. He pulls him out the window of the plane and then gives him CPR right there. Meanwhile, by the way, the plane is still exploding.
You guys didn't like? Well, yeah, he's got to take
multiple explosions.
You guys didn't think this scene was good? It was impressive.
No.
What are you seeing?
He's not a real doctor. Why is he doing all this?
He's not a superhero. Like, he's running right into an explosion.
He's drunk. This is what a drunk person would do if they came across a plane crash. They're throwing blankets on people. They're watching people run by on fire. They're pulling people out of the wreckage. They're doing CPR on people who are clearly breathing. Like, that's what a drunk person would do. That's great fucking acting.
His running is also really terrible. He's like lumbering around.
Opposite of Tom Cruise running in a movie.
So heavy.
Yeah. No, he runs like Nikola Pekovic. Like, it's tough. So this is where he is now figured out. He puts it all together. The uncircled numbers are all longitude, latitude. Another question I have. Does any GPS just knowingly display longitude?
No. You have to, like, the feature is there, but you like, it doesn't normally have it on the display.
Okay, so then maybe all MIT professors do that.
Because they like numbers, right?
He needs to know exactly where he is.
So then we get back to the house. Caleb is asleep. Right? I'm not skipping.
Okay. How does kid get home from school? Who picked up his kid?
Yeah. No, somebody did. Oh, I can't remember who did, because I remember they're telling the kid, they don't like, did you tell them why I was late or what? And he says, no, I just told them that you got caught in traffic. Who was it that he was talking to? Was it Ben Mendelsohn or was it his sister?
Probably the sister.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is where she offers.
Let cornball Ben Mendelsohn get into that home and be around this kid, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So Caleb is dreaming at home. He wakes up to Anthony Jeselnik alien standing in his room, pointing out to a window that is glowing. That is absolutely glowing. He goes to look out the window. The forest is on fire. Absolutely on fire. This is where we see the flaming moose, which sounds like the name of a bar. The flaming moose comes running out.
Sounds like a bar. Hold on. It sounds like a bar in a shitty city that Ethan Strauss actually thinks has a lot of charm. I don't think you're giving it a good enough chance.
So the flaming moose comes out, and then all these animals are coming out of the fire of the forest, and it looks like the end times, right? And then Nick Cage chases him out.
No. What happened was the kid like screams, "Dad!" and he goes upstairs and he finds the kid huddled by the window. It was all a dream, obviously. Right. And then he hugs the kid and he tells him everything's going to be okay, etc.
But he goes running out of the house with a bat, right?
No, that's a different scene.
Okay. All right, maybe I screwed.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So now they go to now he has successfully stalked Lucinda, or the daughter of Lucinda, played by Rose Byrne. So now she's in the movie, and he and his son have stalked her and her daughter to the Natural History Museum.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi.
Is that your daughter?
Yeah, why?
Why? That's my son. And they look like they're already best friends.
Yeah, Abby's probably telling him about the animals. Even as a baby, she was completely fascinated with them.
Yeah, he's the same. He likes extinct animals. I'm John.
Hi, Diana. What are they doing now?
Caleb's showing her something in sign language.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize.
He's not. Sounds just get jumbled up sometimes. He has a hearing aid, which helps, but he's not deaf. He is an expert in sign language.
I don't think it's ever been this hot in October. Air conditioner must be out.
Dad, can we get a drink? Can we get one too?
Hey, would you and Abby like to join us?
Sure, that'd be nice.
And he, like, the two kids kind of are side by side. This is where you found out that he had a hearing aid.
Yes.
He's doing sign language to her. Nick Cage just walks up and basically is like, "Looks like our kids are friends now. Want to go have coffee?"
Super. What a fucking creeper vibe is.
But also similar to the conversation he had with Jessica Biel in Next.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. Which tells me that he's probably ad-libbing.
Right. He's got one mode. So then he goes. They're up on a rooftop there. Kids are looking out over the city. There's the parents are sitting down at the table, and he's asking her questions. And all of a sudden, he starts asking about her mom. He starts getting very personal, talking about the stuff he knows and stuff he's found and everything. Freaks her the fuck out. Yeah. She basically gets away from him.
She gets away with him with this. She says, "Stay away from me." And then there's a long pause, and he says, "And my daughter." I'm like, you piece of shit mother.
Yeah, it's a lot of bad parenting in this movie. It's a lot of bad parenting. So they get away. He then is trying to warn the police about the next disaster on the list. He calls.
Yeah, I said, call the FBI and tell them to do some shit or many people will die. See how that works out for you.
Yeah, see if nobody shows up to your house.
Yeah, like he literally said, he called it back. You have to keep, because he figures out these are coordinates down. The next coordinates for the next date are somewhere in New York. And you got to clear if you don't, many people will die. I'm like, you sound exactly like a fucking terrorist.
Yeah, they would be at his place in an hour. To which I started thinking of that scene in Horrible Bosses 2 where they get the walkie-talkies and he goes, why do we even have these? Why don't we just use our cell phones? And Jason Sudeikis goes, have you watched the fucking news lately? And Charlie Day says, yeah, it's just the three of us, not the three of us in the NSA.
I love that movie, man.
It's a great movie. It is a great movie. So he calls and then he goes to the scene of where
drives to New York. Drives 4 hours to New York to the scene of where this is supposed to happen. And is shocked that New York City went about its fucking life.
Right. Yeah, that New York City was like, nah, we're good. The guy who had to Google 9/11.
Yes. So, guys, you want another text phone? 9/11 to happen? So he goes up to a cop who's just standing there and demands to know why these people are here. Why haven't you cordoned off this area? The cop, of course, knows exactly what he's talking about. And then the other cop, there's a bunch of other cops in a van across the street, says, there he is. And I said, wait, so the cops are waiting for him to introduce himself?
Yeah, that's not really how that would work.
Yeah. Then I also said, I must have missed this era of NYPD where everybody had a baseball hat on. They all wore NYPD baseball caps. Every single cop in this movie had an NYPD. None of them had the actual, cop hat.
Yeah, so they try to apprehend him once they figure out he was the one that made the call. He runs down into the subway as he's hiding from the cops and the FBI. He notices a suspicious guy kind of clutching a bag, right?
He's wearing a trench coat during unseasonably hot weather, right?
Right.
So
trench coat in unseasonably hot weather in the subways, which are always nice and cool. So he starts chasing this guy. He's like, oh no, this is the guy. This is what's going to happen. Starts chasing the guy. I'm talking
about a long ass chase.
Yeah, it's a long chase down the platform. And I made the note. This is the worst body double / stunt double I've ever seen. It looks nothing like Nick Cage, like absolutely nothing like him. So Nick Cage gets onto the train with the guy. The police are still chasing them. They finally get to the end of the train. The guy's trying to get out the back, and Nick Cage lets the police know, no, this is the guy. This is the guy you're after. And so as they approach him, he drops his stuff, and it's not a bomb or anything. It's just DVDs.
He stole DVDs. And if some random dude try to get me for stealing DVDs, I think I'd just stand my ground and be like, what the fuck are you talking about? This dude ran like he had 17 kilos of coke strapped to his body.
Off of one look from a stranger.
Right. Yeah. Off of one look from a stranger. Absolutely. It's so
a drunk stranger.
Yeah, a drunk stranger. So then this train starts moving. There is an issue with the rails, with the tracks. The train now goes off the tracks. It starts crashing. It's a gigantic crash. This is where I made another note. The crashes in this movie are really good.
I said, whoa, you want to talk about bad CGI?
What?
The CGI in this was fucking horrible. This one, the plane one, I was a little like, okay.
Plane one's a great shot.
This one was it was it was just terrible.
What if I spin it like this? What if this is the view of it through his drunk eyes? Does it now get better?
Just all got beer goggles for this entire movie. Maybe I should watch this movie with beer goggles on. Maybe that would help.
Maybe, yeah. And so now that's your accident. However many people needed to die in it. And so at this point, I was admittedly texting, and so I kind of missed now for some reason Nick Cage and Rose Byrne link up again.
So he goes back home. So he drives back home. Obviously this accident that he's told people is going to happen. Something's going to happen in New York tomorrow. This many people are going to die. It happens. So I guess Rose Byrne goes to his house. Don't ask me how she knows where he lives, with her daughter, and she's waiting on his front doorstep when he arrives home. And she reveals, okay, now I believe you. And guess what? My mom had all these problems, and she said she knew what day I was going to die on. And basically she's apologizing for kind of calling him crazy. And turns out, her mom had this history of being a crazy woman. But that sparked the thought in my head. I said, wait a second. So Lucinda was crazy since she was a kid, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people thought she was crazy. She wrote numbers. She said she could hear whispers. Obviously the bloody
I know where this is going.
I said, does that mean Rose's dad was a scumbag who knocked up a mentally impaired woman?
That's exactly what that means. I hadn't put that together, but yeah, that's exactly.
That's the first thing I thought about, because I was just like, wait a second. First of all, I was like, wait, she had a kid? Then I was like, oh, maybe she got her shit together. But now Rose Byrne tells her, nope, never got her shit together.
She's crazy. She was always crazy.
So they then go to her mom's old place.
Right, which is just an abandoned shithole. In
the middle of the woods.
And so Rose Byrne and Nick Cage go into the place with the flashlights. They leave the kids in the car. Kids are left in the car.
I said they left the kids in the car?
Right. So all right, now we have a smooth stone.
Yes. So they search the house and they see a bunch of stuff, and then they go into a bedroom and they find a pile of these same smooth stones that the kid had earlier, right?
Yeah.
And so meanwhile,
also like etched into a
hold on. Meanwhile, outside, Anthony Jeselnik and his alien friends have cornered the car.
Yeah, they've approached the car. Yeah, and you hear the whispers again.
And they call them, by the way, the kids call them the Whisper People, which made me think of the Yin Yang Twins.
Oh no! Oh no! So then they see etched on this door, carved into this door, is everyone else. Like it's all over the place.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The final date on the thing had a date, and instead of having a number of bodies, it just said EE. And they thought it was like someone's initials that someone was going to die on. Turns out EE stands for everyone else, which she scratched into the bottom of her bed many times.
Yeah, probably when this horrible person was with her. And so and then you hear the car horn is blaring, absolutely blaring. The kids are laying on the horn. Nick Cage and Rose Byrne run out there. They run after the creepy guys, or Nick Cage runs after Anthony Jeselnik, and finally stops him. Finally gets him stopped. And we see that Anthony Jeselnik has black eyes. He opens his mouth, and a blast of light comes out that like kind of temporarily blinds, not fully blinds him, but completely impairs the vision.
Oh, you skipped the part, by the way, where he asks his kid, "Did they hurt you?" And I wrote, "Did they hurt you?" equals definitely meant, "Did they molest you?"
Right.
The way that was delivered.
Yeah.
Only one way. So all right, Jeselnik is basically a big searchlight, apparently.
Yeah, he's a searchlight. It temporarily blinds, impairs the vision. He gets away.
Turns out both Caleb, which is the son, and Rose Byrne's daughter, both can hear these people talk, and they've been hearing them for a while, unbeknownst to their parents, apparently.
Do you know the name of the daughter?
Abby.
Yeah, but she also played Lucinda. So that confused me.
And also Rose Byrne plays grown Lucinda. Right. From the pictures in the
exactly. Yeah.
But it looks like they like crudely photoshopped her.
It like just they used the warp feature or something like that a little bit. Yeah, it's a little off. And so at this point they now know what the code is that Nick Cage believes that these solar flares that have been happening here and there, that's why the temperature is rising and everything, is going to destroy the Earth with a super fire. And at one point he is standing in this office and he is looking out into nature, and he's just staring at the sun, kind of like Trump did during that one eclipse moment. Yeah. Like he's just staring at the sun, no sunglasses, just staring right at it. And now we get now we've got some moments of like, oh shit, this stuff's really gonna end. This is bad. We got to figure something out. And so he calls his dad. He's now reconnected with the pastor father. Lets him know about the prophecy of fires and the heat's going to get worse, says to get in the basement. At this point, after being visited by these people again.
Yeah. Well, no, Rose Byrne comes in. Again, how does she know where he works? I don't know. She hears him talking to Ben Mendelsohn about this, and then she runs out like distraught.
Yeah, completely distraught.
And as she's running out of this facility, which is, by the way, where we see his massive office.
I mean, corner office of a CEO.
It's an apartment, yeah. She runs out rather than just running out the regular pedestrian door. She hits the massive garage hangar door.
Right.
I'm like, first of all, how did she know that switch was there? How did she know they controlled that door? Why would she have the inclination to do that rather than walk out the regular door, which is right there on the right?
Right.
And then that's also when I said, why did he teach freshman intro to astronomy if he got this big ass office?
So when he gets back and calls the dad, lets him know like, hey, shit's about to go down. Now Caleb has gone into the crazy Lucinda writing mode with the numbers.
Yes.
Like in a zone, in an absolute zone, writing, carving them into the table, into the desk with his fingers, unaware that he's doing it. There's a set of numbers where Nick Cage believes is a safe spot, right? That's why they go there. So it's a safe spot that they have to drive through.
Oh, well, no. Yeah. So originally they're like, we're all going to escape. We're going to hide in these caves, even though I don't know that the caves are going to give us enough thing. But then he remembers that Lucinda was scratching the door at the school. So he makes a detour, goes to the school, grabs the door, takes it back to his house and has like a heat lamp, and he starts trying to scratch.
Yeah, he's like kind of like using like a paint scraper.
Yes. And he finds out the numbers, but Rose Byrne is panicked and grabs the kids, including his kid, gets them into her car, and then drives off.
Yeah, she kidnaps them.
She kidnaps them basically and said, we're going to go to the caves because your father has lost it, right?
Right. So she stops at a gas station.
Yes.
The news is on and they've got an emergency test, or not an emergency test. The emergency broadcast system has said like, hey, shit's going to get bad. You better stay inside. You better if you can find underground, shelter, you got to do that. But it's about to get really, really bad. So be warned about that. When she then calls him from the payphone.
No, the kid.
Oh, the kid calls.
The kid gets to go. The kid's like, "Where's my dad?" And she's like, "Oh, he's right behind us, right behind us." He's like, "I don't believe it." Gets out, calls his dad.
Yeah.
She finds him. Basically hijacks.
Well, the Anthony Jeselnik steals the car with the kids.
She finds the kid on the phone, tells him to get back in the car.
Oh, right.
She starts talking to Nick Cage.
Caleb, get back to the car now.
Caleb.
John?
Where are you?
We're in Westford. I'm sorry. I had to do this for Abby and for Caleb. I'm taking them to the caves.
I found the numbers. They're the location of your mother's mobile home. That's where we've got to go.
Don't do this to me. Please.
I know how it sounds.
You want us to head toward the place where this is supposed to happen? Are you insane?
It's a chance we gotta take or we're all gonna die. Stay where you are. I'll be right there.
No, if we go to the caves, we have a chance. You said the sun can't reach that far.
The caves won't save us. Nothing can. The radiation will penetrate a mile into the Earth's crust. Do you hear me? Our only shot is to go where the numbers want us to go. It's what we're meant to do.
I don't believe you. I'm taking the children. We have to save the children.
Don't you move, Diana. Caleb is my son.
And I think to myself, I don't believe you, even though you were right all along.
You were right about all the shit.
Everything. And P.S., I'm the motherfucker who left kids in a car with the keys in it.
Right.
And so yeah, she steals another car. I can't even remember how.
So Anthony Jeselnik steals the car with the kids in it, drives off. She sees that. She steals another car, starts driving after him, gets smoked by a semi truck, absolutely T-boned.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm watching this. I'm like, oh shit! Like she gets killed, or she gets hit by a car. Nicolas Cage shows up, finds the accident scene, goes to the ambulance where they're administering the defibrillator. And she basically flatlines, and the one medic says to the other, "All right, call it." And the medic looks up and says, 12 midnight exactly. And it turns out this was the exact date that her mom told her was going to die. And I wrote, "What a twist!"
All right, so now Cage is going to the spot. He has a gun. He's trying to find the kids. He's running through the woods with a gun. we get another revival of the Smooth Stones. The Stones are all over the place. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did. I mean, I was just like, all right, like these, but the Stones don't mean anything.
Right.
Right.
So,
unless you have a whole lot here, like I just want to like blast through all this.
No,
right?
Go ahead.
So basically, the alien, Jeselnik reveals his true self. There's a spaceship that comes from the sky, and they're taking these kids, and they're gonna take them somewhere safe. Like while the end of the world is gonna happen, Nicolas Cage tries to get in with them, and they tell the kid via telepathy that the dad is not allowed, right? So, and the kid can't understand it.
It's holding a bunny.
Yeah, it's a lot of stupid shit. But the funny thing is, the kid now, we've established the kid can hear the alien talk, Jeselnik can talk, but Nicolas Cage can't. And for some reason I wrote, if Caleb was smart, he'd milk this. What's that? He's saying I need my bedtime to be later in order to read again? I just thought he should start doing that. Meanwhile, by the way, Abby don't give a fuck about her mama or her daddy or anybody.
No,
right?
I mean, she just saw it because they saw the car wreck. She saw her mom get smoked.
Did she?
Yeah, they look back. They're looking back in the car.
Oh, but what about her dad? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
She just completely was just like, yo, I'm cool. I'm ready to go with you.
I'm just ready to roll. Yeah. This is where I wrote. This is where I wrote. A group of them appears. A ship comes out of the sky. Cage drops to his knees and acts his ass off because I do think this is good acting. I think he brings it in this scene.
The rocks, like as soon as they fly away and the rocks fall on the ground, that's when I got really upset because the rocks had no meaning.
Yeah,
like
they
if
really
if the kids had to follow the rocks to get to this place where all these rocks are, then I would have got it. But it's like, no, just some rocks.
But I mean, the big payoff is not the rocks, but the little cabbage patch because they do that as they say goodbye to each other.
Yes, they do. So the ship flies away. Nicolas Cage decides to drive right through the heart of downtown Boston.
There are riots. There are riots,
looting. Everyone's going crazy. And for some reason,
National Guard is in there.
Yeah, but for some reason, Ben Mendelsohn and his wife are chilling by the subway.
And he sees them. Like the odds he would see those two. Wouldn't you just be like, "Yo, get in!
Yeah,
I'm going to my parents."
No. Then, and that's the point where I realized, why the fuck does he drive a pickup truck?
Another great question. Well, he does live in the woods.
We didn't see him do any pickup truck type activity at any point in this.
Right.
Other than the door.
That's fair.
Right.
But it did pay off for the door. It paid off for the door.
I mean, I could have strapped it on the top of the car. I don't know.
So he shows up to his parents' house.
Yeah. Reconciles with his father.
Yeah.
Everything's like, and the end of the world happens.
Yeah, the massive explosion, fires, just a blip. And this is where I also thought I wrote a note. I wrote, they're cooked as the world gets destroyed. Buildings get Independence Day'd. Great CGI. I thought this was fantastic CGI.
Terrible CGI.
I cannot believe this.
Meanwhile, the aliens have landed the kids on this alien planet.
Wait. After great CGI, I also wrote the note. How was this only $50 million?
Wow, really? You actually thought the CGI was that good?
I really did. The end of the world, Maze. The end of the world.
I mean, I don't know.
That didn't look cool to you?
No, I mean, I was out as soon as the aliens showed up. Like I was completely done with this movie. I think. Also,
a note I wrote is they're only taking these two kids.
No, but then you see that there were a lot of other the ships left.
But are we assuming they're taking two at a time?
No, it's like an Adam and Eve type thing. I thought it got real biblical there at the end. So I said, first of all, gross. Like they're telling us that these two kids are gonna fuck one day.
Right. Yeah. So they drop the kids off in a meadow on a planet somewhere.
But then they dip, and so I said, the fuck are these kids supposed to start a civilization?
Right. They're 9-10 years old. Yeah.
Like there's no guidance, there's no buildings. It's just like a meadow with a tree.
Yeah, a glowing tree.
Yeah, it's like an alien meadow with an alien tree.
They really and there's like a crescendo of like Beethoven playing and everything. Like they really thought that was an inspiring final shot.
And that's the movie.
That is the movie. One little note here. An anagram of the young girl's name. Her name is Lucinda Embry. This is according. I didn't figure this out. This is according to IMDb. So Lucinda Embry, an anagram for it is badly numeric.
Jesus Christ.
Well,
do you think that was intentional?
Definitely not.
This movie was definitely bad.
All right, let's get to the real star of this whole experience, Tony Medley.
All right, Tony Medley, tell me.
Tony Medley gives it a 5 out of 10. A 5 out of 10.
That's a high score.
That's one of the highest ones we've gotten so far out of Tony, right?
Yeah.
Tony Medley. And so here I have a couple paragraphs here. Starts it off with, "This is a classic example of a film that should have been subjected to a detailed preview process, one in which the producers should have paid attention to the comments of the viewers. For 100 minutes, it is a rip-snorting, tense, interesting film. Then it completely falls apart." This is how he ends the review, because then he just goes through some plot stuff, which we don't need. He ends the review with, "To say the ending is unsatisfying would be the understatement of the year. But what's even worse is how long it takes to get from the 100-minute mark to the ending. Proyas fills the last 21 minutes with a plethora of special effects and music, enough to fill several movies. Unfortunately, Proyas apparently doesn't know what's going on or why, because he doesn't provide any explanation for what we see occurring on the screen. Maybe the reason he chose this particular ending was to exhibit the special effects in which he so clearly is in love, and they're pretty good, especially a plane crash and a subway disaster. Fuck you guys, Tony Medley's with me. But on the brighter side, maybe too, someday these special effects directors will learn that a movie is not special effects, it is story and acting and reason and common sense. The last 21 minutes is devoid of all four, especially the latter two. It's a metaphysical ending that defies explanation and left me thinking I had just wasted 2 hours."
Nice.
Tony Medley can write.
I mean, that was a really good review.
Yeah.
Except for the fact that...
But it still gives it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah. This movie...
Full profile.
Oh, is that... I mean... Do you really need to ask? Honestly.
Mayes, full profile.
It's a hard phobe for me. It's a hard
phobe. I really I'm with Tony on this one. For most of the movie, I'm like, man, this is not as bad as I remember it.
So a couple of things. Number one, earlier I said I can't decide whether this is better or worse than Next. And the reason why I say this, I think Next had more of an original. Like, I was actually not impressed, but like intrigued by the premise early on. Whereas this movie, I think, was very formulaic and trite. Right? It's been done a million times before, right? Whereas Next was like, oh, this is a different twist on that kind of thing, right? But at the same time, this movie felt like Next felt a lot like it was just like they didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Right.
Like they had a good idea and they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. Here, the idea wasn't original at all, but they kind of had an idea of where this was going for most of the movie, right?
Sure, right.
So that's why I say I couldn't tell if it's better or worse. The number 23, which is a Jim Carrey movie where he buys a book from a bookstore for his wife. And in it, basically, turns out the number 23 kind of everything can devolve itself into a factor of 23 and it tells you when people are going to die and all this shit. I actually like that movie a lot.
Yeah, I like it too.
Most people didn't like it. The number 23 was way better written than this movie in terms of the power of numerology, but also like this concept that if you believe in numerology, literally every number will, like, it's self-fulfilling prophecy. Your brain will make anything be that thing.
Right. Man, did you know that number 23 got 8% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, wow. 8%. Yeah, I know a lot of people didn't like it, but... You know,
I like that movie.
I did like it, too.
Knowing is far more successful than Next was, if that helps you decide.
Okay, I mean...
Next had a budget of $70 million, which is crazy to me that was a bigger budget than this one, but maybe that was the people who were in it.
And also the CGI was actually
good. The CGI was not better than Knowing. That whole log falling scene.
Mayes back.
I already gave my power rankings. You guys know where I stand on this.
Oh my god, this is absurd. Because Next did $18 million in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean,
it's $77 million worldwide.
Zach, I think what we talked about with like Next being dumped by one studio and then picked up by another, I think they probably just
killed it.
Flubbed the release really hard, right. Whereas Knowing they were behind it the whole way. I mean, Proyas kind kind of, I mean, before the Gods of Egypt, like iRobot made money, like kind of a lot of money.
iRobot was fucking awful.
And then so like they probably had like good marketing and stuff behind this.
iRobot was so bad, man.
Oh man, I like that movie.
Adding it to the list.
Yeah, put that one in there.
But yeah, this movie, it's really the really terrible half-assed attempt at religious overtones that killed it for me. Like the random Ezekiel poster in Lucinda's house.
I thought it was like the Raiders of the Lost Ark, by the way. Didn't that picture look a lot like when Indiana Jones is showing like the guys from the government in the beginning of the movie what the Ark of the Covenant is?
Oh, right.
And there's a picture that like the Hebrews with the thing and it's killing all their enemies and shit. That's what I thought that picture was at first. And I actually got excited. And then I realized, no, that's not it.
Yeah.
and just like the Adam and Eve Tree of Life ending, it just really made me upset.
Yeah, especially like to end it with like 9-year-olds. I would say that's the only reason I would lean towards Phobe, but I'm gonna give it a soft file.
There it is.
Really?
Yeah, I'm giving it like a real soft file, like on the border.
This picture of Nicolas Cage that I sent to the chat is how I feel about your reaction to this movie.
Is it just?
I'm blinded by the sheer light of your reaction.
Ass off. He acted his ass off in that scene. All right, I'm telling you, he drops to his knees. He's crying. I felt the pain. Like I felt that shit. He acted his ass off. The plane crash is a great scene. Tony Medley agreed with me. Like that CGI brought it. I'll go. Fuck what you guys say. Thank you to the listeners. We're going to do another one next week. I don't know what movie we're doing yet, but you can drop suggestions on Twitter or in the Discord. Thanks to me and Al Hassan. Thanks to Anthony Mayes. Thanks more to Tony Medley for agreeing with me. Fuck you guys. This movie's great.